So sorry about this starting. Some of this technical stuff can be quite funny. So most welcome to International Literacy Day webinar. Today is September 9, 2023, and the event itself celebrated yesterday, 2023 World Literacy Day. As you can see from the screen, the theme for this year Literacy Day is centered around promoting literacy for a world in transition, building the foundation for sustainable and peaceful society. Okay, and the actual day happens to be yesterday. If we look at the theme given, it's centered around literacy, centered around the world in transition, and also the sustainable and peaceful society. How do we get to have a peaceful and sustainable society? So meet the organizers. This webinar is organized by 4 organizations in the field of literature, SDGs, and education. Specifically, we have Eko Pages, Everything Literature, TESDA, which simply stands for the Educator of Sustainable Development Africa, and we have ELTAN, which stands for English Language Teachers Association of Nigeria. Okay, so our focus for today's webinar is on the theme, Books as Bridges, Connecting the Dots. So what are the dots we are taking a look at for today's event? We have SDGs, literature, and peaceful society. Okay. So, and we have our speakers all set. We'll get to meet them shortly. And icebreaker, who can mention the 17 SDG goals accordingly? Anyone in the house? Yes. Who wants to try? Who can mention the 17 SDG goals accordingly? Anyone who wants to try? Because from our responses, a video was played at the beginning. We want to confirm how many persons were watching. No. So who wants to try? Okay, if no one is coming up to try, then let's get ready because it will be coming up after this event, and we just need active participation. We are here to learn. We're here to share knowledge together. And without further ado, we have our guest speaker, the first speaker on board, Linda Ruas. Ms. Linda Ruas is a teacher and teacher trainer now based in the UK with many years of experience. She has taught and trained in Brazil, Japan, Guinea-Bissau, and presented at many international conferences. She also writes teaching materials and is on the committee of the IATEFL Global Issues SIG. Okay, so you're most welcome, Miss Linda Ruas. I hope you can unmute yourself, Linda, please.
Okay, good morning. Are you going to share the slides for me? Is that okay? I'll just talk. Yeah.
Definitely, please.
Okay, great. Good morning, everybody, and happy World Literacy Day for yesterday. Literature, I really think, is one of the most important things to link language and life and education. So if you could start sharing my slides. I'm very honoured to be invited to speak at this event. It's something very close to my heart. The global citizens, global issues is one of the important things that drives and has driven my teaching and training over the last many, many years. I'm also working for the British Council as a consultant for the English Connects and very happily working with 5 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, from which I am learning a huge amount. One thing about the Sustainable Development Goals is climate change, and today is the hottest day in the year in the UK. We are boiling, and I have to use my fan that I bought in Nigeria to keep myself cool. So there you are, a nice Nigerian cool fan to link with climate change. Okay, one of the best ways of learning and improving developing language is by reading, especially for higher level learners. And I do this a lot with my learners. You need exposure to a range of more complex language, grammar and vocabulary. You need to learn almost by osmosis, by picking up the language, and you need to enjoy it. You need to read to such an extent that it becomes so easy that you enjoy it. But it does depend on what you are reading. Next slide, please. So I only have a short session. It's 15 minutes only. So I have reduced it to 3 texts, 3 tasks, and a secret. Next slide, please. Right, so the most important thing, first of all, is in raising interest of the learners. I've used these 3 books with my learners in London. I teach asylum seekers and refugees in London, and with teachers in Guinea-Bissau in West Africa. So I know these 3 works of literature work with those learners. We need to make people interested before they read. We need to make people, kids, teenagers, adults, everybody want to read. And so we need to do a lot of work on raising interest. We can do this by showing the pictures, getting people to predict what they think they're about, using quotes from the book to raise people's interest. There's a very good TED talk. Do you know TED Talks? TED.com. Have a look at those online if you haven't been familiarized with them yet. And there's an excellent TED talk by Chimamanda about that book there, We Should All Be Feminists. The idea of feminism puts a lot of people off. A lot of people are scared of it, think they shouldn't be a feminist, or maybe feminists hate men, or is anti-religion, or anything like this. There's a lot of interesting ideas around feminism. Listen to her TED talk. I played it to my students. They were all amazed at how interesting and relevant feminism can be. And then they really wanted to read the book afterwards. We need to bring new items into class to motivate students. For example, about this girl, Malala, who was shot by the Taliban. For example, about this other girl, Greta, who is an eco-warrior. No one is too small to make a difference, which is a lovely title, especially for young people, because it really can empower them. We need to use statements from the books. We need to get students debating and thinking about these things. So have a look at the 2 questions there. What do you think these books are about? And which one would you read and why? Would you read any of them? Personally, I would read all of these and I would highly recommend them all. Does anyone have a favorite? Okay, next slide, please. I'm going to go on to some tasks in a minute that we can use from them. Malala, great. Yes, excellent. Okay, so we also need a purpose, though, with our work with literature in class. Not just reading anything. It's very important, I think, that we as teachers don't waste time on meaningless, maybe, but still enjoyable literature. If the literature that students are reading is old-fashioned, not relevant, we're losing out on a very important opportunity to get them engaged in the real world and the real global issues. So the Sustainable Development Goals are a really important checklist for us as teachers to keep looking at and keep going back to. The United Nations agreed that these are the most important things in the whole world to be working on, and they're important everywhere. They are big global issues. And if you didn't rise to the challenge at the beginning in the warm-up of naming them all, here are the names of all the Sustainable Development Goals. This is my main interest in teaching and training, and I bring these Sustainable Development Goals into every lesson and every training session that I can. My interest in the IATEFL is Association of English Teachers, Global Issues SIG, and I work with lots of other teachers to do this as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so the most important thing then for getting literature is ensuring access. Now, I've put just the beginning of the Malala book here on the screen, and you can see how dense the language is, how interesting it is, how reading a little bit like this could make people want to read more. But the huge problem is that books are really expensive. Books are really difficult to get hold of. I know that books in many countries are just simply unavailable. So we need to ensure access to really important, relevant books. For example, the books that are available on PDF, and these three are, for example, short books that people can actually maybe make a few copies of or share, and access to the SDG topics that interest your learners. It's no point doing books and reading books and literature on things that they're not interested in, but things like this girl born on the other side of the world, in Pakistan, Afghanistan, on the borders there, these really interesting things that happened to her, I think people can identify with. We can do things in class like dictate part of it to students, then they predict the next part. We can show parts on a screen if we have it. We can even use audiobooks or even record part of it and play part every lesson. There's many, many ways we can do it to ensure access to this wonderful literature. Next slide, please. Okay, so I've got a few tasks here for you to work on these three texts that I've chosen. This first one is the Malala book, I Am Malala. I don't know if any of you have read it yet, but read it. It's excellent. The task I've chosen here is a task that increases empathy and understanding, which is really important with the Sustainable Development Goals, because we need people to empathize with the world and the people and global citizens in order to want to do something to help. So this is a task here. Just by looking at the cover, I ask my learners to write the beginning paragraph or the beginning chapter of the book. So all we've got there is the picture, the title, I Am Malala, and the line, the girl who stood up for education and was shot by the Taliban. And then I get learners to try and understand, what is she thinking about? What does she want? What did she do? What is her life like? How different is it from mine? And then after writing in groups the beginning paragraph, I get them to read the beginning chapter to compare what they actually thought. So which Sustainable Development Goals would that be working on? It is obviously the SDG 4, which is quality education, SDG 5, which is gender, and also SDG 16, the peace and justice one. Okay, so next slide, please. And this is one of my favorites, Greta Thunberg, the Swedish protester. She started when she was 14 by protesting in class to try to make the world aware of the climate crisis. So this wonderful short PDF book is about protest and influence. No one is too small to make a difference. My tasks here are to help learners to summarize, to bring the focus and to bring the main ideas into a smaller amount. And I get them to choose any chapter. There are all the chapters about her talks and her ideas, and to summarize them either in a tweet or in a poster or in a protest banner. Now, we're not telling all the classes to go around the world protesting out on the streets, but in the classroom, you can have your protest banners, stick them up on the wall, even chant them and get people involved that way, or posters to put around the school. Which SDGs is this task related to? Again, it's number 4, education, and number 13, climate action. And next slide, please. Now here we've come back to Nigeria and the wonderful Chimamanda. All her other books are absolutely amazing, but this one is short and very interesting, and it actually changes people's minds about women, feminism and equality, and has changed so many people's minds around the world. My task for this is a group dictation. So choose any page from the book, We Should All Be Feminists, divide it up, maybe cut it up into 3 parts, and give one to each person in each group. They each dictate to the others. So they're dictating, the teacher's not dictating, the students are, they're practicing their pronunciation, clarity, reading, writing, accuracy, listening, and then they check for accuracy. So doing this is a great task anyway in class, but doing it with a really important text is even better, and it should motivate people to want to read more. There are, of course, many other types of dictation, like the running dictation, very popular, where you put a text up on the wall of the classroom and groups choose one person to run and take a bit in their head back to their group, dictate it, then run back and take some more. They can swap over the runner. A shouting dictation, where you have 2 lines at either side of the room and they all have to shout at the same time. This is with background noise to try to get their message across. And a dictogloss, where you read out the whole thing, maybe a paragraph, twice normal speed, and they take notes and in groups reconstitute the text afterwards. Next page, next slide, please. Okay, the English Connect's British Council websites have a huge amount of resources here, and this is on the www.teachingenglish.org.uk site. Please have a look at that. There is a course starting this week on teaching English through literature. So please have a look at that free online course. And they have many webinars as well related to lots of the SDGs, especially this one, for example, education and climate change connecting storytelling. So have a look at these links and search on the teachingenglish.org.uk website to find a lot more, for example, lessons that teach the Sustainable Development Goals. Next, please. And this is my final slide. So the secret I promised, I think many people now are writing about the Sustainable Development Goals. They're writing about these really important things, but the secret is to find the perfect balance. The balance in literature between the really important issues, opinions and content, and good storytelling, style and language. If you have books that are just simply pushing their issues and opinions, people often get cut off, feel bored, and not so engaged, especially teenagers. If you have people who are brilliant storytellers and tell the story, the really good story, with great language and style, with these issues and opinions, then that's when you get the readership. My favorite authors at the moment relating Sustainable Development Goals topics to real life are Maya Lunde, Norwegian activist, and Barbara Kingsolver, an American biologist. And their books are amazing. And these are the sort of authors who will change and are changing the world. That is my 15 minutes. Thank you very much for listening. Do you have any questions?
Okay, so please, thank you so much, Linda. Such a wonderful presentation right there, because I had to sit back and just listen afresh and get to learn basically 1 or 2 new things, especially the aspect of the dictation that you mentioned in teaching of some of Chimamanda's, one of Chimamanda's text and all that. So we would like to encourage, does anyone have any question? Please make use of the chat box if you have a question for Linda before we move on to the next speaker. Okay, so if you'd like to speak, you can raise your hand as well. Okay, so we have one hand raised. That is got an hand raised. If you were the one, I think Ms. Aderonke. All right. Yes, Ronke, did you raise up your hand? Okay, I really can. And it's quite interesting how you said it's hot over there, making use of your hand.
It's really, really hot for England.
Oh, interesting. So any question for Linda, please, before we move on? Okay, Mr. Pelumi, or is it Miss? Please, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, so we have a question in the group, in the chat box. A question goes thus, how can we make learning literature accessible to all class groups, not just art and humanities students?
Well, I think these types of books that I've just recommended, they fit into so many other subjects as well. Like the Greta Thunberg book, that would fit into geography, for example, science, for example, because she's talking about the world and the future of the world and what we ought to do about it. Malala, for example, would also fit in geography about different countries of the world. Most topics can relate, most subjects, school subjects, can relate to the Sustainable Development Goals. If you just use a little bit of creativity, dig a bit deeper, you can find your links. And I think it's a brilliant idea to share literature and work with literature in different subjects as well as the arts subjects. And again, using the same sort of ideas like interesting people first, using debates and discussion in class, using quotes, pictures, visuals, maybe short dictations, maybe setting an assignment to get people to research, the same sort of ways of interesting students, getting students to work together, and maybe introducing an element of choice. Sometimes I give students 3 books that they could read and they can choose which one they want to choose. People like choice, don't they?
Definitely, definitely. And a quick one. Okay, we have Comforts raising up our hands. Please, you can unmute yourself. I hope your question has been answered. Pelumi, Comfort, please.
Yes. Good morning, House. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning.
I enjoyed your presentation, but what I wanted to let you know is that in our climb here, we don't have the opportunity of choosing texts for our students. These texts are pre-selected by the government. So sometimes we really don't have any choice than to use the recommended texts. Therefore, it might be impossible if, for instance, somebody has a topic relating to maybe like Greta Thunberg, like you mentioned, and it's not on the scheme or in the list of selected books. So it's pretty difficult for a teacher to go outside what you've been prescribed to do by the government. But sometimes somebody can play around it and maybe give the students as a research work, something like that. So we are kind of constrained down here as regards selection of books. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Comfort.
From which country, please?
I think this is something that many teachers say all around the world, that they feel restricted. But with a little bit of creativity, it's amazing how far you can get away from those restrictions in digging a little bit deeper, offering extra choice as extra work, maybe motivating students in class and saying, okay, we're studying this for the exam, but read this one as well. And the teacher giving these extra opportunities, for example, books that are on PDF that you don't have to invest in and buy. And the other thing I would like to say is the Eko Pages books that they have actually got to write and got approved by local governments and education systems, this is the way forward, surely. I've just been looking at the Eko Pages Facebook and website. They've got some brilliant books there. And I think getting the government to agree to approve these SDG related books is the solution. And giving extra things outside class. Homework, research projects, anything like that, just mentioning something, seeing if you can get this, ignite this spark of interest in learners, and then maybe giving them a link to read outside class could really help.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. And the last question before Linda takes a leave. How do you make sure that your students have understood what they are reading using Zoom in and Zoom out? This is from John Motabuko.
Yeah, this is a difficult one, isn't it? How do you ever make sure anybody understands anything? This is a huge question, isn't it? You can write comprehension questions, but then they might understand those little bits, but not the rest. You can get them, I think probably the best way is to get them to talk, to discuss in groups, and then they can ask each other what they don't understand. The wonderful thing about literature is that people take different things from it. People remember different things, people learn different things resonate with people in different ways. So we don't want to get a one-size-fits-all approach to literature, but we do want the ideas, the main ideas, to come across. So if you want to write comprehension questions, you can. It doesn't solve your problem completely. Discussing in groups is great, or even discussing in a WhatsApp group if you don't have time in the classroom or online. And getting people to write about what that literature has sparked in them is a really good thing, because it might be something completely different. I don't think that's answered your question properly, but this is the way I like to teach, by inspiring people, pushing them a little bit further, and not checking the understanding of every detail, because it will be different and vary.
I guess that resonates with the learner-centered approach, if we're to be cognizant of that. Okay,
yes.
Thank you very much, Linda.
I want learners to enjoy their reading. That's one of the most important things. If they enjoy it, then they're going to read more. If they don't enjoy it, then they're not going to read.
Okay, and it's just a pity you would be chance to stay with us to the end, because there is a particular question I would have loved, but we'll send it across to you and get your response on it.
Please do. Have a lovely, wonderful rest of the session. Sorry I can't stay, and I will listen to the recording. And I think it's wonderful what you're all doing. Brilliant topic. Great.
Thank you so much, Linda. We love you too.
Thank you. And happy World Literacy Day.
Without wasting our time, because we are constrained against time, we have our next speaker on the standby, who happens to be Mr. Pelumi Dunsi. Mr. Pelumi is a writer, poet, creative and graphic artist, editor, and publisher. He's a seasoned English language educator with nearly 2 decades of experience. In addition, he's an education and communications consultant. Pelumi Dunsi earned a BA in English language studies. He also holds Cambridge, UK certifications, including the Cambridge Education Professional Development Course Certification and the Cambridge International Examination CRE Certificate as an English Language Oral Composition Examiner. His postgraduate academic interests are in communication and book publishing studies. Welcome, Mr. Pelumi Dunsi. Mr. Pelumi, please, if you can hear me, kindly unmute yourself. And
yes,
you're most welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I hope everybody can hear me. Thank you, Mr.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm really excited to be here, being part of this celebration of literacy across the globe. And I'm happy to be part of the activities outlined for the celebration. Thank you, Mr. Popola, for inviting me. And thank you for all your to all your team members, all the groups involved. Thank you very much. So I've been given this topic, authors as advocates, voices for sustainable and peaceful future. Quickly, I'd like to extend the word authors to writers. I'm well aware that there are young writers who are not yet published, who may be part of the webinar this morning, so that we don't intimidate them with the labeling author when they are not yet, but they will be if they keep at it. So I'm going to be using writers more often in the course of my presentation. We've had a very good start. That was a brilliant one from Linda Ross. Thank you very much, Linda. So we are connecting. While Linda's presentation does so much on the contents of literature, we are taking a look at the creators of content, writers. So please come with me as we go on. Please, next slide. Next slide. Okay, good. Thank you very much. I believe that the younger ones among us will really be happy to see that poster of Matilda, the musical. I don't know. Can I have hands raised up? Who has seen this movie? It's a 2022 movie. May I have hands quickly? Has anyone seen this movie? Okay, we have 2 hands, 3 hands. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so let's go on. This is what brought me to the movie, or what took me to the movie. I came across a short clip on Facebook before I went to look for the movie. Eventually, and I watched and enjoyed it, and my household has been enjoying it, watching it over and over again. Okay, so and it's what Matilda said when her teacher was so surprised that she could solve, difficult maths on the chalkboard. Not only that, when she said that she's read so many books, and then she said something profound, and that is reading is a holiday in your head. Reading is a holiday in your head, and this is so instructive because now we are still in, I don't know, many schools are getting ready to resume, so we are still on holiday. So I like the word holiday becoming relevant here. Now imagine the people you have met during this holiday. Imagine the experiences you have had. Imagine books that you have read and places you have traveled to. Even when you read books, you travel. So imagine all that. Now think about what Matilda said in the movie. Reading is a holiday in your head. We cannot divorce literacy from reading. As a matter of fact, reading is the earliest skills one of the earliest skills you get to become a literate person. So when you read, of course, you are bringing in your early literacy skills of recognition of symbols, of letters of the alphabet in whichever language you are taught first in, and then like that, and you become a literate in a particular language. But beyond reading, being literate goes farther than just reading or just interpreting symbols. It also goes into understanding culture, understanding reference, understanding what people value, what people ascribe meaning to. So, but we are going to use reading as our mainstay as we move on. Thank you, Mr. Pokola. Can I have the next slide? All right. Dwelling on what Matilda said, we want to read a bit about reading. See, reading plays a crucial role in literacy. Literacy is the ability to read, write, spell, listen, and speak. Reading is necessary for learning, and it is critical. It is a critical skill for all of us. Children who have developed strong reading skills perform better in school and have a healthier self-image. If we are going to have a sustainable future, peaceful future, we must have children who develop learning, who develop the love of reading early. Because in school, I usually tell my students that you come to school to learn how to learn, to learn how to learn. So once the students have the love for reading, consuming books, consuming information, consuming content, we can really be assured that the future is bright. Because through reading, for example, we have here, reading is a complex process that involves skills such as decoding, making prediction, and asking questions. And one way to actually be part of the future is asking questions. How can we make things better? What has brought us here? Or how do we get here? How did we get here? Like we ask about our history, our projection in Nigeria, for instance. In the last few months, politics has been a mainstay of our public discourse. And more often we ask questions about, how did we get here? How did we get here? And moving on, reading is also important because it makes you more empathetic, knowledgeable, and stimulates your imagination. Remember what Matilda said? You go on holiday, you have discourse with minds, with people you never meet and that you may never meet. You even create your own world. You imagine, you envision a better world. How can this be better? And that's what writers do. Writers create an alternate version of the world we live in, or they remind us of what used to be. They also tell us what is possible, what can be. So reading is really, really a good thing, is a good skill. And if you are talking about literacy, we cannot divorce reading. So therefore, reading is an essential aspect of learning and has multiple benefits attached. May I have the next slide quickly? Now, these are the sources, just in case you want to trace where I got some of these points from. Okay, so they are not originally mine. Thank you very much. Next slide. Now, I still want to connect a bit of that to this recent movie. I believe, including the adults in the audience, we saw this movie a while ago. Maybe some of us are yet to see, but of course, it has been in the public discourse. Now, I found something very interesting about this movie when it came out, and people started making comments about it. It brought to the fore that people may lack what we call cultural literacy, may not be deep in cultural literacy because they are not able to relate to the symbols, the message in the movie. I'm using movie as my my entry explanation because, of course, before the movie it was written, so we are still connecting, writing. And now, when you look at this particular scene, I've decided to use this particular scene. I read many comments by people I would call the Gen Z, the younger generation, saying that what's the point of showing this much power about raising a falling tree while it can simply climb over or walk over it? And I discovered that people are not able to relate. They're not able to appraise literature. They are not able to appraise cultural content. Probably one of the reasons is that they are not able to interpret symbols. They are not familiar with cultural literacy. Now, if you look at this quotation I have here, is from Professor Nkechi Christopher, a professor of literacy, early childhood literacy and reading in the University of Ibadan. He's also a professor of publishing. He's one of my professors. This is what she said about literacy recently. In fact, she posted it yesterday to celebrate the World Literacy Day. And I'm going to print just this highlight here. It says, reading is fast becoming a difficult task for individuals to indulge in, and that may have been the reason why many people are not able to interpret or to appreciate the symbols in Jagun Jagun, especially a particular one that is very, very pivotal in the understanding of the progress of the story. Mr. Kukola, thank you. Next slide. I'm going to use these three books quickly. to talk more about what writers do as advocates. Writers play a significant role in promoting the love of reading by creating books that are engaging, culturally relevant, and something is sitting there. Okay, we can't possibly say that. Let me quickly look at it here. Yes, and diverse, culturally relevant and diverse. The first book here is it's a critical essay by Niyo Shundari, Nigerian popular poet, dramatist, and literary critic. The title of the critical essay is "The Writer as Writer," and that's what the writer does. The writer rights wrongs. The writer advocates for the readers, for the common people, for the masses. Now, please give me the next slide. We'll be coming back to each one of them. Thank you. This is an excerpt from his book, the critical essay. Says, for a book is an inert object. It lives into life when read, only when read. So writers know very well that they have to engage their the audience, and that's why we started with reading. Reading is very, very important. The art of the writer is lost, is immaterial, it's not relevant once readers cannot read, once the audience cannot appreciate what is written. So there's that relationship, very, very strong relationship between reading and writing. As a matter of fact, it is often said that readers are writers. They eventually become writers because they have consumed structure, they have consumed style and so on, language, and they are able to reproduce what they have read. Now, moving on, it says here, the highlights say reading is two minds in creative clash. Reading is two minds in creative clash. And finally, it says the journey never thrives on ceremonial exchange of courtesy between writer and reader. No. So for reading is an art of eternal quarrel of two minds in regenerative conflict. And I want to talk a bit on conflict. And that's where the writer is an advocate. He comes in as an advocate. There's daily living in Nigeria and other parts of the world. We have conflict of religion, conflict of tribal sentiment, nepotism, conflict of political conflict. We have so many kidnapping. We have poverty and so on. There's so much conflict, but the writer, in his or her job, in his or her heart, comes together, comes in to provide advocacy, to speak for the downtrodden, to speak for the masses. And sometimes when you read, you discover that the writer seems to be expressing your mind. There's something that you can relate to in the writer. It could be in the characters that the writer creates. Many people can relate to, say, Ogunjiji, or relate to Ogunjimi, what's the other name now, the villain in the story, the movie Jagu Jagu. So we are able to find our voices in what the writers write. Thank you, Mr. Kukola. Next slide. Yes, in Ungugi, this is one of my most favorite books. I read it during my undergraduate days. I have a copy still on my shelf. A Grain of Wheat. It stands out as the work of a mature novelist, confident of his control of the multiplicity of experiences. That's my highlight here. This comment is made by a professor of English, Simon E. Ginkandi, in his introduction to the book, one of the editions of the book. And then, multiplicity of experience. Writers engender conversations. They are able to bring about conversation, including difficult ones that people are not ready to talk about. And there's no way we can have a sustainable, peaceful future without throwing up conversations that are necessary about our past, about the present, and then our aspiration for the future. And this is where writers come in. They bring about even the difficult ones to bring about empathy and change. Because if we do not empathize with others, if we do not understand them, we probably cannot even begin the change we desire in our world. And to quote or to paraphrase Gandhi, says we should be the change that we, want to see in our world. So it begins with us, and it begins with empathy, understanding the people, your audience, or people you live with, and so on. So this is about the way to bring about the peace we so desire in our world. Throwing up conversation, and writers are always at the forefront of this. Next slide. All right, this my should be my final slide before I say bye. And then we have Alice Walker, one of the earliest novels I read too as an undergraduate. And in the final lines of the book, if anyone has read this book before, and you can pick it up, you'll find it quite interesting. Alice Walker is an American, Black American writer. And in the book, she sees herself as a medium, as a spiritual voice for people who are not able to speak for themselves. And there, she puts it, the very last line of the book, I thank everybody in this book for coming. And then she signs off AW, author and medium. This line has a profound impact on me, has had all the time. I always remember this line. And, the writer, for anybody who can relate to this, the writer seems to have this spiritual side to himself or herself. Sometimes when you are compelled to write, it's as if there is a force. You are compelled to put that message down for maybe for yourself or for your audience, your immediate audience or future generations. Sometimes they are like prophets. And this is what the writers do. And they do it creatively. They create new world, they create possibilities and so on. Finally, the last slide. So I want to use that Alice Walker's line too here, that I thank everybody in this webinar for coming. In my own little space, I try to encourage reading. I try to encourage writing, and that's what I do through Monteleone Media and Publishing, the Writing College, and the one that is forthcoming is the essay.com. We're collecting a collection of essays, personal essays from young writers in particular. What's it called? The invitation is still on, and I hope people will be part of it. If there's anyone in this audience who wants to be part of it too, I can make the link available to the organizers for people to submit their personal essays, to share their experience, their thoughts, their critical thinking with others. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for the organizers. Thank you very much. Right, Mr. Kokola.
Thank you, Mr. Pelumi.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pere, and I am the co-moderator of this webinar alongside Mr. Kokola.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that enlightening section. I really love what you said about writers being providing advocacy to speak for the downtrodden and for the masses. Yes. That was something. Thank you. And I particularly love Alice Walker's Color Purple.
Color Purple. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Sir. All right. So we're gonna throw the question and comment section to the house. Does anybody have questions pertaining to this enlightening section we just had? Any question, please?
Yes, there seems to be a hand raised.
All right, Comfort J, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Pelumi, for that eye-opener.
Thank you very much.
We all know that, we all know that reading, the reading culture to be specific, has died. Let me just put it that way.
Yes.
It has died. Yes. People no longer read. And I wonder why. And I want to find out what could have led to that. That's one. Two, how can we then encourage people to read? Because sometimes when I'm online, somebody will post something, and when you go to the comment section, some people will say, please, what did the person say? It's too long, I can't read it. Can you imagine something that is not even up to a page? And people will say they can't even take the time and the patience to read to the end. So how can we, as writers, I'm a writer too, and
Okay.
thankfully I'm an editor too. I'm a publisher. Don't worry, we'll talk about that later. I'll get it to you.
Right.
But
Thank you,
it
Ma.
pains me when people don't want to read. What can we do? Even in our schools,
Yes.
students don't
Yes.
want to read. So how can we overcome that, challenge? Thank you.
Thank you, Ma. From my experience as a teacher, too, as a classroom teacher, as a consultant, I think the problem is mainly, largely, let me put it that way, about our curriculum. In the past, I still envy those who went to school years in the past, when years of when they had is it Form 4, that time of forms. I
Exactly.
remember. Yes, I remember graduates of, say, science, graduates of engineering, who would say that they were made to take literature in the course of their secondary school. So it was holistic. It wasn't separated. Today now you have during my time, I had a friend who said he's not even Yoruba, so he wouldn't even take Yoruba at all. And that damage is done continually. It's even worse. Now you have students who don't even have to take any Nigerian language at SSC level. Once they do a bit of it in GS1, GS2, they are done. The students are more and more divorced from the enjoyment of literature. We have graduates who are just seeking information, just technical information, and that's all. And that's why they don't have patience for long reading, to enjoy the beauty of language, the flowery language of literature that people write. When I use the Jagun Jagun as a reference, even the people are not patient. Those who made comments, it was that nonsense. He could have simply jumped over the wood, or the log of wood. And I was saying in my own comment on my Facebook page, I said, when I wrote a short comment on Jagun Jagun movie, and I wrote this way, that for those who know and value art, we are having more and more graduates who don't value reading, because reading is not seen as enjoyment. Reading is just for academic purpose, just cram and deliver, that's all. But if we bring back a holistic curriculum, where whether you are in science or you are in a commercial or whatever, you enjoy literature as part of your holistic learning, I believe that we'll go back to the glorious days that we often talk about. Thank you, Ma.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pelumi. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Okay, Amolala Odunsin, your hand is raised, please. Your question.
Thank you very much, everybody. Good morning. I don't think Mr. Pelumi has answered the question the last speaker asked. He was
Okay.
trying to find out what we can do now, but well, in my own opinion, I think you just went ahead to highlight why the
It
issue
is
she
so.
raised.
Why the situation is so.
That's the question.
All
However,
right.
if I'm permitted, I will want to chip in something as a
Please
literature
do.
teacher too.
Please do.
I find out that my students don't like reading. I mean, it's a general problem. We all know that. Even some adults don't enjoy reading anymore. You'll be surprised that some language teachers don't also like to read. So what I do in my own case is I do what I call bite-sized reading for my students. You'll find
Okay.
out that I'm not an avid reader. You may not enjoy reading some of the literature texts that we have in our curriculum right now. So the issue for me is not changing the curriculum immediately. While the policies are on to change it, what do we do with the ones we have to ensure that the students read? So what I do when I enter a class, I do the introductory reading. I give my own summary of what the text is about to stimulate their interest. Something similar to what you did to us at the beginning of this session. Just even if they are speaking out of context, if you're discussing things that are outside what the story is about, I still allow them just so they can hear their mind and be a part of the class. And then I share the scripts to them. That's what I do. And most of the times I create two groups of presenters. I don't say somebody is going to be Baroque, Baroka, somebody is going to be CD. No, I have group one, group two. So there's a Baroka in group one, there's a Baroka in group two, there's a CD in group three, there's a CD in group four. So that way we get to do presentations every week until we exhaust them. And before you know it, you find out that because they are putting it into action, even those who were never interested before would want to. For instance, I'll say this, and then wrap up. There was a session I took, and somebody felt you could act a particular character better than the person that acted it. I said, okay, no problem. I'll allow your group to represent.
All right. It seems.
Okay. A quick one. I guess she lost her network, and
okay, yes, that's
please, because some of the questions
By the
we're
time they were
asking,
not many of them passed. Few of them. So what other
Ms.
things can we
Odyssey.
do? She was asking. Thank you.
Okay, so
thank you,
as Mr. Pelumi, because we have the
Yes,
other speaker on the standby, and some of the questions asked will be addressed a bit in
All
our
right.
presentation. Then thereafter,
All right.
we would have a timeout for everyone to give room for comments, observations, because it's meant for every one of us to learn. So
Exactly.
we're really against time, and we don't want a situation whereby the questions we are asking, of which the answers are in the next presentation.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pelumi. Yeah.
Thank you.
Pere,
Thank you.
please, are you still there?
Yes, I am. Olamide,
Okay.
I am
Yeah.
there. All right, everyone. Moving on to our third speaker, Miss Light Chime. Miss Light Chime is a tech educator, trainer, and coach. She's also a SEN educator and language tutor, English, French, and German. She strongly believes that no child should be left out and every child is unique. That is why she has partnered with various organizations to encourage active and effective inclusion, especially she helps educate. Everyone, let's welcome Miss Light Chime. Miss Light, the floor is yours now.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to see if I can quickly connect with my laptop. Can you all hear me, please?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. We can.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm still trying to connect with my laptop, and so while I still join here. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Chime Light, and it's okay. Oh, okay, that's fine. So you have my slide. I can continue what I'm doing. My name is Chime Light, and I'm a tech integration specialist. What I really do is I help teachers and I help students to be able to integrate tech in their classrooms effectively. Okay, so the next slide, please.
Okay, Light, you're muted. If you can hear me, we can't hear you anymore.
Okay.
I said we've talked a lot about the literature aspect. I was opportune to meet Mr. Pelumi during his presentation. I was able to explain to us different kind of literature and literary books that we have, and it's actually interesting to see the effect and the impact that literature has actually had. So today I'm going to be dividing my own into four major contexts: the transformative power of literature, when literature meets technology, the how strategy, and the action plans that we have. So my topic today is technology, innovation, and literature, the new avenues for SDG and peace. Discussing the roles of technology such as ebooks, audiobooks, online communities, enhancing access and to literature and promoting engagement with SDGs and peaceful living. I told Mr. Lamy before we continue, before we started this session, I told him that this is like a thesis topic and he wants us to do it in just 15 minutes, but it's fine. Please, the next slide. Okay, so let's look at the transformative power of literature. A lot has been said, and I need to really say that I'm not trying to say more than what has been said. From everything that has been said, we're able to understand three fundamental things about literature. The fact that literature, it helps you it informs. So this means that we're having textbooks, we're having stories that informs people. Let me just go down to where I'm talking. Okay, so we have more secondary school teachers here. But even when I was in primary school and all that, we have books like Incorruptible Joy, talked about the morals of the story, morals of society, tells you what is happening and things like that. Then we have books that inspire. Literature is meant to also inspire you to be the best at what you can be, to tell you that, oh, you can make it. Things like Easy Go to School, things like Born with a Silver Spoon, Without a Silver Spoon. So those are stories at that point that we know that, okay, every child wanted to read. And when they read it, it's like, okay, Easy went to school, went to college. That was a big dream at that particular point in time. And everybody wanted to be like Easy. So it inspires. Literature actually inspires. Then thirdly, literature intervenes. That is one thing that I really understood about literature and I really appreciate about literature, the fact that it causes impact. Remember the right now, the Wale Soyinka, remember when he actually said he has to create like a group in school. They were using writing to tell the story, using writing to address the injustice in the society. And when books like the books that actually push things like the Negro movement, so you can see that literature does those three eyes. It informs, it inspires, and it also intervenes. And there's this popular saying at that point that says that the pen is mightier than the sword. That means the pen can do so much more. The pen can have so much impact. The pen can have so much interesting things and do a lot more than the sword, something like that. So you can see that these are the transformative power of literature. So we are agreeing now that literature on its own is powerful. So now let's go to the next slide. At this point, we're not going to talk about when literature meets technology. Literature is powerful on its own. Now, meeting and blending into technology is what we are going to look at. How powerful and how transformative this can actually be. Tech is not here to replace the status quo. It's not here to replace the books. It's not here to replace what we have on ground, but instead it's here to transform if used the right way. So I'm the one saying that. I think I meant to put my name. Chimela said this quotes. So tech is not here to actually, we don't want books anymore. We don't want the literature books anymore. No, that's not what technology is going to do. It's meant to actually transform at this point. We understand that it's powerful on its own literature, but right now we want it to transform. That's where tech actually comes to play. The next slide. And at this point, we have different things that happen when technology meets literature. Somebody asked the question, why is it that the children don't like reading nowadays? Why is it that people don't really like to read? And it's true, when you go to Facebook, but anyway, when you go to LinkedIn and you type a long article, people are like, what is this? But guess what? If you type a story of how one person in the compound slaps the landlord then slapped the dog, then came, people will read that story and you have a lot of interesting comments underneath and all that, because everybody has their different kind of what they really feel that attracts them, or what they feel they are really concerned about. But right now, this is the fact that we worry about the Gen Zs, the Gen Z, the millennials, a lot of interesting things used to categorize different age group and different people. And these Gen Zs have been they were born with technology. They grew up with technology. And you have issues that lead to, because they watch a lot of videos, they're watching cartoons, they are heavy on visuals. They are heavy on audio visuals, things that they can listen to, things that they can watch. And that is where, at this point, tech is coming in to help transform the literature that we have at this point. That we have things like audiobooks. So instead of the books being in the text form, if you ask a Gen Z, I was talking to somebody, a younger person, she's about 20 years, and I was asking that, she was saying that there's one, like Harry Potter. I said, have you read Harry Potter? She was like, no, I've not read Harry Potter. But guess what? She has watched Harry Potter, the whole Harry Potter I want to read. And I was not like, why have you not read? She said, I saw the book one day and the book was very big. I can't read that kind of book. But guess what? When we were younger, it was like a competition. People say, I've read Harry Potter, one, Harry Potter this, Harry Potter that, and it was like you are really competing to read the book because you want to be able to talk about something with your friends. But right now it's very different. But guess this person that is also 20 years, she can actually sit down in front of a laptop or a phone and she's just scrolling. She has different books on the laptop and she on her phone, and she has her headset connected because she's doing what they call audio books. So many of these books can be transformed into audio books for your students. Instead of you just having that text where they are trying to read, you can also have that one where they are listening to the words from the book. Sometimes it sticks more for them. Then next we have the podcast. So when you talk about podcasts, people always okay, podcasts you have to have there's a particular setting for podcasts and all that. The truth is, I always say that even the little things that you have access to can do a lot for you. Do you know that WhatsApp now has this audio feature where you can have an audio group call? So if it's something that is allowed, maybe in your school or something you want to work around with your students, you can have that in form of podcast, whereby there's a book you want to talk about or a summary that you want to do. You can just do it in form of an audio text and send it to the students. You can do it in chunks, like in bite size, little by little. You do chapter 1 today or page 1 to 2 and all that. Or you tell somebody else, okay, do this. That way you're reading that book too, but now in form of an audio format. Then next we have the ebooks. So now ebooks is also the literature form, and ebooks can be in different varieties. The book that you feel that may have abstract concepts, because these students are used to visuals, they love a lot of pictures, and you want to do something like my husband has gone mad again, that kind of thing, and you want them to summarize it, can even do it in form of an ebook. Your own summary of the book can be in form of an ebook with different pictures showing them, so it gives them an idea of, okay, this is what the book is talking about. And when they go back, they are really interested. You're now pushing their direction to go back to read that book. And you've used technology to actually achieve that. So you can use tools like Canva to create an ebook for the students. You can use things like AI tools to create videos for your students, so that you are able to drag them back to that book, able to get them to go back to read. And also you're able to use tech this way to transform the literature that you do in your traditional classrooms. So the next one is blogs. yeah, then blogs was always as if it was a really a big deal. That means if it's always Linda AKG blogs, if not Linda AKG, but now anybody can actually be a blogger. If you have a Google account, you can actually be a blogger, and you can just open the blogger app and you start typing something on it. So you can even do this with your students. You can tell them, okay, write a blog on page one of this, write a blog on chapter one of this, write a blog on this book that you've read, or I've written a blog, go and read it and tell me what you think about. So it's the truth is in their mind. It's a thing of the mind. In their mind, they feel, oh, okay, I'm not holding the traditional text, because they may find it boring holding the book itself, because they are looking at it maybe on a phone or on a device. They feel, okay, it's more interesting, it's more it's something that is very different, or it's something that is very, it's something that they relate with than just opening the traditional books. Some people find it very boring doing that. Then next is videos. You can always transform whatever you do into videos. Or for the videos of those things that you're looking at in classroom, things like the Shakespearean stories, or most of this foreign texts have their videos. Working on the African text now, actually, it is not everything that has videos. It's not every story in the African context that actually have videos, but more of the foreign stories have their videos, and you can also play those videos for the students to watch. That way, you're doing something different from what they feel that, oh, is boring or is the old style of learning. Okay, the next slide, please. Now, our strategy, you may be thinking that, oh, how do I do this? Because sincerely, it's not going to be easy. One, the first thing is you need to be open to continuous learning as a teacher. It's not something that you can achieve in one day. It's not something that you can just achieve at once. No way. Then do the following. You need to join literary communities online. A lot of literary communities now, we have different groups, different things like the ELTAN community, like the Africa ELTAN community, like the TESDA community, like the IFL community. We have a lot of community, GISIG community. So these communities we are able to see teachers who share different ways they use technology in their classrooms, and they are able to share their own ways, or how they're able to overcome some challenges in their classroom. Then also you do things that have to do more with experiential learning. Right now, if you're not connecting the classroom with the real life situation, the truth is you will not really achieve much. And that's why we have things like project-based learning, problem solving learning, service learning. So all these things is just a way of making sure that you're role playing what is in the society in your classroom, so that your students can actually be able to adapt their learning and be able to relate what they're learning in the classroom to whatever is happening outside. And this is why it's very important as teachers to look at how you can always use tech, always integrate a bit of technology in whatever you're doing. Because right now, the tech roles are evolving, they're changing. We have, before we always have writers, journalists, but most of these things have gone online. They use more of blogs now. They use more of writing tools online. They use more of Grammarly to check. They use more of AI assistant tools. You need to know about all those things so that you're preparing your child or preparing the students in your class for the 21st century generation, and not because you did this when you were in school, they have to do the same thing. No. So this is why you need to know how to use technology to transform the learning in your classroom, or use things like audio, text, and everything I've actually mentioned before in your classroom. Then start where you are. Start with what you have access to and develop a tech mindset. I always say that. So it's the growth mindset. But now tech mindset is that mindset that helps you to be able to think using technology, to be able to engage students using technology, to be able to create new things using technology, and to be able to harness potentials in your classroom using technology. So it's the TECH: think, engage, create awareness using technology, and that is the mindset that every teacher is meant to have at this point in time. It's not the complication of the tool that determines the effectiveness of the results. It is you using the little thing that you have access to create results that are outstanding. So if it is WhatsApp that you can do that WhatsApp effectively. Use every feature on WhatsApp to be able to leverage your classroom learning or teaching literature in your classroom. Use the poll feature to ask questions about that, to sample opinions about a book. If you can, if it's allowed in your school to create maybe a WhatsApp group for the parents or for the students, you can try that out. Send voice notes. Use the video feature for classroom. Use the poll session to sample different learning on different things that have been explored in class. Use Canva to create, or use the status story to use emojis to tell a particular story, or to design like a storyboard and share on the classroom. So just leverage what you have access to, because that is what tech helps you to. That's what a tech mindset helps you to do. It makes you understand that it's not having a lot of tools or having a tool that you have to go you have to go through different steps to show that you're a guru. No, it's you having access to the little one that you have access to, and your students also have access to, leveraging those things for your classroom or to create an effective result in the teaching and learning process in your classroom. Okay, the next slide, please. So I quickly want us to do something. Share in the comment section. What new insights do you learn today? Please share. I really look forward to this. And also, what will you practice in your class this session based on what you've learned today? This can be something short. Just hit the comment section and kindly share what new insight have you learned today. Have you learned something new from this session? And what will you practice in your class this session based on what you've learned? We've talked about the power of technology transforming literature. Different formats that can be used: the audio text, the ebook, the blogs, the videos, the podcasts. So what insights have you learned today? Kindly share in the comment section and let me know what you would want to practice in your class this session based on what you've learned today. Okay, that's the action plan. The next slide, please. Yeah, so thank you very much. This wraps up my session. My name is Chime Light. You can search me on LinkedIn. You can also on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, which is now X. And you can always send me an email. You're free to join my community, a community of tech educators. I'll be sharing this in the chat box. You can join my community, and it's a tech community for educators. I talk more about tech integration, how to use tech in your classroom. And thank you so much for having me on this session. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you so much, Mr. Lamy, and thank you so much, everyone. Questions and comments, please.
Okay, Pere, please, are you there?
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Light, for that enlightening section. It was really enlightening. I learned about developing the tech mindset, TECH, for teachers, and not just for teachers, for everyone actually. We should all develop the TECH mindset. Thank you so much. Please, does anyone have a question or comment? We'll just take one. And then after, when the fourth speaker comes up, she will continue with taking questions and comments. So we'll just take one question or comment for now.
So we have someone who has already raised up his hand or end, not pretty sure. Ogene Rumuse, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chime. That was a brilliant one. I just have a contribution to make. I met a colleague who schooled in Europe, and she studied history, and she told me, she said when she studied history, she brought her books from Europe, and they were colorful, even at that level, at postgraduate level, very colorful. Each page has a color. Then she told me, she said when she got there,
We lost you, Mr. Ogene. If you can hear us, please. Oh, Pere, can you hear him, please?
No, I cannot hear him.
I can hear him.
Okay. We'll have to move on. Does any other person have a question? We can take one more. Adefemi, let's hear your question, please.
All right, thank you very much, Pere, for this wonderful platform. And one more thing, thank you very much, Mr. Bola. And to the facilitator, I must say, each presentation was quite job-dropping, I must say. They did justice to each question, and I really want to appreciate them. Now, I have a question regarding the technology. Many times, when you give students 1 mile, they go more than 10 miles. Now, with the advent of technology, bringing technology into learning, asking students to go to blog or to do one or two things using the internet, don't you think that might cause more distraction? That's number one. Number two, how do we moderate that aspect of distraction? In my school, we use technology all through. As a matter of fact, our students use their netbooks in classes. But then one of the problems we have right now is the fact that many of them are so much engrossed in the use of their netbooks to the extent that even they hardly listen at times in a class. They pretend to be reading the library and only to discover that they are doing something else. Now, my facilitator, my question is, how do we moderate the technology, the use of technology by the students outside the supervision of the teacher? Should you give an assignment to them? How do we make that work out without causing more harm to them? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. And I understand that is really a bit of concern for a lot of schools and even a lot of teachers. But I need to make you understand that, first of all, this can be moderated, especially as a teacher, if you ensure that their parameters. So just for example, just like the way in a traditional classroom, you have what you call the success criteria, you have parameters, you have things like that are called classroom rules. So in your class, for example, because most times the truth is that you cannot control anything outside, most of the time outside your classroom. And that's why as schools, they put things in place. They have the tech support. The tech support are the ones that are always trying to deal with that, making sure that they limit access to a lot of websites that the students can actually go to. That's why you have some, even YouTube, most in some schools are banned or is banned. Why? Because they know that if they give those children access to YouTube, you cannot read YouTube, you cannot control what they watch on YouTube. So there are different security apps that can be installed, like Norton Security on all those capacity and all that. So most of those schools go for those high-end stuff to make sure that no matter, even the teachers, most times the students. So once they register the students on the server and it's showing that it is a student mail, the students cannot bypass it. But the truth is, we're in the tech age, right? You cannot really control a lot of things. Even I, as a teacher, if I say how to bypass a server on YouTube, it will explain to me how to bypass a server. So many students even do what they call VPN. So as a teacher, you know this. That's why it's good for you to know it. You know what your students can do. So in your own classroom, for your own course,
you have to make sure that you set parameters. So the way there are classroom rules, when you in normal classroom, everybody come and say, okay, what do we do? You're not doing this, you're not doing that. Let them know. In this class, as long as you're using your device in my own class, you cannot do this, you cannot do this, you cannot do this. And you stand on that, which is also very important. Then also putting all those barriers when it comes, if you can have access to that, it's very important that you put in all those barriers. You cannot access this, you cannot access that. Most times the schools do that so that to ensure that no students can actually surpass or go to illicit sites or go to sites that they are not meant to go to. Then outside the classroom, the sincere truth that there is not, there's really nothing of a bit. You can't just say, I want to really control everything down to their homes. You may not be able to do more than that, more than your classroom. So it's just very important that, okay, for your own classroom, you make sure that even the sites that you want them, you can't just say, go online, go and research, write a summary. No, you are going to specify the sites that you want them to go. So you would have done your own research as a teacher and you'd have brought out the sites that you want them to go to. So you put in those sites and tell them where you want them to go to. So it's very important that you as a teacher, you put those parameters first so that you're able to have total control from your own end. Then as a school, they put in the parameters from the technology, from the tech support. So they are the ones that we actually make sure that they make the online space safe for the students. I don't know if I've answered your question, sir.
Well, you have. Just that it is more said than done. But then I hope that the modalities you have talked about will go a long way. I'll put that in check.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Light. If you have more questions or comments, please make sure to note it down as we will come back to these questions and comments when the fourth speaker comes up. For now, sorry.
Okay, so Perry.
Yes, please.
Yeah, just to address some of the questions being asked, I feel like these are points whereby we need to make the audience know what the organizers do.
Okay.
So you're representing TESDA. What does TESDA do? Or what does TESDA does?
All right, Salamide. TESDA means the Educators of Sustainable Development, Africa. And what we do is we go to schools and we teach children between the ages of 5 to 17 about education for sustainable development, ESD. ESD is under goal 4, quality education. It's actually 4.7. And it is UNESCO's response to the urgent and dramatic challenges that the planet faces. There's climate action. So it's very much connected with goal 13, that's climate action. And what we do is we teach children because we believe that children are the future. We believe that children are the future, and what better way to start
Perry, we lost you a bit. Are you still there? Okay.
Sorry, please. So we believe that children are the future, and what better ways to start this form of education than starting it from the roots? So what we do is we engage in lifelong learning. Yes, it's a lifelong learning process, and we empower learners of 5 to 17 to make informed decisions and take individual and collective action to change society and care for the planet. That means what we do is we give these children the knowledge, skills, values, and agency to address global challenges, including climate change, unsustainable use of resources, and also we teach them about critical thinking, problem solving, all connected to goal 13. That's more of taking care of our planet. So that's what TESDA is all about. And we go to schools, to secondary schools, primary schools, where these children are, to teach them about education for sustainable development. That is what TESDA is about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Perry. And I believe you have some programs coming up, of which if we have some of our attendees who want to participate or volunteer, I believe you're going to share the links with us.
Oh, yes, we do. So between September, that's this month, till November, we have a target to reach 2,000 students. We are partnering with Eko Pages. I believe Eko Pages will come up after this presentation to talk about, and I'm sure we've seen Eko Pages before previously at the beginning of this webinar. So we are going to partner with, we are partnering with Eko Pages to teach 2,000 students about education for sustainable development, to take actions, and also we will form clubs in schools, because we believe that we alone cannot carry out this. We need to involve teachers, the schools, and all of that. So yeah, that's the projects we have on ground now. We've taught 200 students, 100 students, sorry. We've taught 100 students. We have 1,900 to go. So yeah, we're on
Okay,
it.
thank you very much, Perry. And on that note, permit me to welcome Zipa 10. Just to, in 1 minute, tell us about Eko Pages and the objective.
Okay, can you see me? Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Okay.
Yes, we can see you and we can hear you clearly, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Perry. You gave me a soft landing. Thank you, everybody, for joining this webinar. My name is Zipa 10. I'm the CEO of Eko Pages, and basically our objective is simple: to catch them young. It means to catch the children young. We started out as a publishing house for children literature, SDG themed literature books. Our goal was to educate children across Nigeria about the SDGs using literature. However, we have metamorphosized into something bigger now, right? So we are now an edtech platform. And so we have it's education technology, right? Where children, educators, and parents can come on our products, learn about the SDGs through our literature books, literature courses as well, quizzes, and other fun ESD materials, right? Also, we have a couple of books in the Lagos State Ministry of Education's curriculum for children across primary and secondary school. This to reiterate my point, we are not leaving any child behind. Yeah, so that's the basic brief for Eko Pages. And also, we also have an initiative we run for or in marginalized communities, right, to educate them about the SDGs. It's called the SDG Literacy Drive, where we go to schools, communities that are marginalized to teach children about the SDGs using literature, our books, and our materials. Thank you. It's a pleasure being here with you guys.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ten and Mr. Perry. Don't mind me. I almost said Mr. Perry. Okay, so before we get to have our next speaker come up on board, let me just quickly give a brief about everything literature, because we are 4 organizers for today's event. We have Eko Pages, we have TESDA, we have ELTAN, English Language Teachers Association of Nigeria, Lagos State chapter specifically, and we have everything literature. So for info about everything literature, we encourage that you visit everythingliterature.net. That's our website. It entails everything about what we do. And 3 basic things that we do is that we connect educators, specifically English and literary educators. We develop them and we equip them. Okay, so the first part of it is that we try to we have a network platform whereby teachers across board get to connect together, network together, and the next aspect is we develop educators as well. As much as Eko Pages and TESDA are focused on the learners, which the children, catch them young, we believe that the educators should be carried along as well, and basically our job is to ensure that throughout Africa, educators have essential soft, digital, technical, and teaching skills. So those 4 basic things are needed, because when the teacher is having the essential soft skills, the digital skills, the technical skills, and the teaching skills, learners will be encouraged to learn. Okay, and that's a bit about everything literature. Then last but not least, we have ELTAN. ELTAN is the platform for English language teachers of Nigeria. For those of us that are not yet members, please, we encourage that we try as much as possible to become part and parcel of ELTAN, both on at the state level and also at the national level. So if you're trying to find a way around it, please feel free to I'll be sending the link to what's it called, EL network platform, so you can just do well to join the platform, and from there we'll pick it up. Your details will be sent across to ELTAN and all that. Thank you so much. So let's get to move on. Pere, we have our next speaker on standby, right?
Yes, we
Yes.
do. Yes, we do.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Sorry. Trying to fix my laptop.
Okay, so you can just read our profile.
Okay, so our next speaker is Mrs. Kausarat Adewumi Sobe. Mrs. Kausarat is a Deputy Director of Education with Lagos State Teaching Service Commission, with over 20 years of teaching and administrative experiences. Presently, she doubles as the Vice Principal at Elemoro Community Secondary School. Please pardon my pronunciation. Under Education District 3, and also as the State Treasurer of ELTAN Lagos State Chapter. As a seasoned WAEC examiner, she has been involved in the grooming of many students and training, mentoring of many teachers across Lagos State towards advancement of English language teaching. So, Mrs. Kausara, the floor is yours. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pere. Good morning, everyone. I really sincerely want to appreciate the organizers of this webinar. They are doing a great job. I also appreciate previous speakers, from the first speaker, Linda Ruas, to the second speaker, Mr. Pelumi, and recently, Ms. Light. You all did a great job. So what I'm going to do now is just briefly run through major items in what you have discussed, and add more, and bring out the stand ELTAN on all this that we have today in commemoration of the World Literacy Day. Thank you. For the benefit of those that joined us in the middle of the session, as first speaker raised some vital issues that can assist educators in the teaching and learning of literature specifically. And part of what she mentioned was the need to raise the interest of learners through pictures, maybe the book you want them to study, come up with pictures from the book so that they can predict what the book is likely to be about. Then taking new items into the class to motivate your students and raise awareness. But majorly, she also
Okay, I guess she has a bit of internet that we lost
said
her.
that we should try to integrate the text the students are studying with the. Then she advised that teachers or educators should use resources from the English Connect. With is that we should create a balance. We should find a perfect balance between issues, opinions, contents, and good storytelling, style, and language.
Yes, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, go on. It's
Hello?
okay.
Then
All right,
for the
thank
second speaker, Mr.
Hey,
Pelumi, who talks about the voices of authors as advocates for sustainable and peaceful future. Yes, he also talked about the roles of writers, that they need to engage the audience. The writers as advocates must take cognizance of the fact that reading is an act of eternal quarrels of two minds in regenerative conflict. He went all ahead to advise that writers, intending writers, or those young writers, or those that have been on the job, also advocate by making their content to promote love for reading, by creating books that are engaging culturally and relevant and diverse. And it made us to realize that writers are at the forefront of initiating conversations to bring about empathy and change, which can bring about peace in the world. Then to my tech guru, Miss Light. Yeah, she talked about technology, innovation, and literature, the new avenues for SDGs and peace. And particularly, she made us realize that literature has transformative power because it informs, it inspires, it intervenes by causing impact and action. And also that books, we can encourage learners, students to enjoy reading, because we now discovered that these days, many people don't seem to like reading as an exercise. But now that we can actually convert those literature texts they want to study, or any English text they want to study, into using technology by converting them or producing them as audiobooks, ebooks, blogs, videos, and podcasts, so that teachers can have various literature texts in those various forms, and it makes teaching and learning more interesting. And the part of the advice she gave is that the house strategy is about the house strategy. She advised that educators join literary communities online. They should be open-minded to continuous learning. They should connect classrooms with real-life situations and project-based learning in the classroom, integrate technology in teaching and learning, as well as develop the tech mindset and leverage on what they have in teaching and learning. Having said that, now let's look at how we as educators, yes, speaking from the ELTAN perspective, as Mr. Lamide rightly said, ELTAN is a platform for English teachers, and it's not only for English teachers. And on that platform, we organize seminars for teachers, for educators, because language itself is dynamic. So teachers need to be up to date in what they do. And they should be able to make their learning interesting. So part of what we can do to assist those that are facing difficulty in reading and writing, since we talked about celebrating Literacy Day, is that we should, as educators, establish a culture that supports literacy. And how do we do that? We learn to know our students, their interests, their social and cultural experiences. As educators, we should support and celebrate every child's efforts to develop reading skills. So let them know that you believe in them. They are bound to make mistakes along the line, but you correct with love. Then you make vocabulary learning fun to your learners. You can also do this by teaching word awareness and the richness of vocabulary. You can also feature new words every week. You know, you pick up words they come across, they're likely to come across, or even in the text. You know, since you have a pre-knowledge of what the text is about, pick up words from the text, interact with it, make learning their meaning and their usage, make it fun for them, and let students, give recognition to students that make use of those words in new and interesting ways. Also, as educators, we should teach them skills such as phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, because these are basic foundations for proficiency in the language. So teachers are advised to teach structural analysis, maybe such as common prefixes and suffixes, as well as rules guiding the how to divide longer words. I'm talking in terms of syllables now, because all these are essential to reading and understanding. In addition, we as educators should be ready to guide our learners on how to apply all these basic skills to connected text that are prescribed to them. Then, as said by earlier speakers, we should also create reading groups for them. But this will have to be done in terms of the needs of the children. And this will help them to develop their skills or strategies and learning competency. We can also collect books and materials that will appeal to their interests and proficiencies and make them easily accessible, just as one of the speakers said. You can make all this text, because we are not going to focus only on literature now. Students also need to improve their proficiency in English language. So all these teachers should go a step higher to source for materials. Language itself is dynamic, so we should update our knowledge. Then make sure that when we are preparing our lesson plan, we take into cognizance the level of these children, their interest in the collection of books and materials that we are going to get for them and make it accessible to them. Then you should also listen to them when they read. Give them small passages. Let them read, observe their patterns in word pronunciation, make necessary corrections when needed. Then you will see that gradually they will develop the boldness, the confidence, and encourage them to develop their confidence in reading and writing. Then maybe you coach your students based on their individual needs, as I've said earlier on, and encourage them to talk about the books they have read. When they read text, it's good enough that you introduce them to a particular text to go and study. Let them come out to tell you what they love about the text. Let them give a criticism of the text, a critique of the text. What are the things they expected that the author has not done? It gives them free will to express themselves. And not also, part of what we should do is to meet them, give them room to come to you. They share their reactions and questions, and ultimately, by so doing, they are going to build a deeper comprehension as a result of your interaction with them, because they'll be free to tell you what they have read. And by the time you create a class, group discussion classes, at their own level, they will interact, they will share knowledge. Then you get feedback from their responses.
Okay,
So,
Mrs. Suba.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Because we intend that we address some questions before we wrap up this meeting on or before 12. And thank you so much for the insight you've provided. We have some questions. I don't know if Ogene is Ogene. Don't mind me. I really don't know how to pronounce. Ogene Rumose is fully back, and you have your question intact. And some other teachers on board who may have one or two questions, so that we can address everything all together before Mrs. Subar and other speakers would have to take their leave. So I'm going through the chat box, pardon me, and there was a question earlier by Kennedy. Okay, so we have a question here from Kennedy. It says, SDGs seem abstract in our Nigerian context. How can we bring this to the consciousness of our students? That's a question. Okay. Then Mr. Pelumi, let us hear you first while I go through the questions. Yes, Mr. Pelumi, do you have a reaction to Mrs. Subaru's presentation?
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kokola. I have two reactions, and I want to thank the organizers once again, and the last speaker, the Mrs. Suba. Thank you very much, ma, for your summary of the presentations. Earlier on, I have two contributions to make. First, to what Mr. Shifoduni asked earlier on about technology and mitigating the undesirable effects on our students. I want to encourage teachers not to continue to exercise the fear that technology will corrupt our students. Because it's here to live. We live with technology every day. So whether at home or in school, one way or the other, these students will be exposed to technology. So, and as mentioned or stated by Ms. Light, who made that presentation on technology, teachers just have to be educated, thoroughly educated. They should be ahead of the students by every means. By every means. In postgraduate studies, we were taught that, it's just an opinion anyway. This is not, it may not necessarily be a fact, but, from research, that people who are born or were born before 1980, they are what we can call digital immigrants. Digital immigrants. They are often afraid. They are not able to use technology very well. Whereas people who were born after 1980 are called digital natives. They are very much at home with technology, and they can manipulate it, to their advantage. So I want to encourage fellow teachers, colleagues, please let us see how much we can do to mitigate the undesirable effects. But we cannot avoid technology. In fact, if we are avoiding technology, we are living in the past. We are living in the past. Like I said in the comment section or the message session, I put it there in response to Ms. Light's request that I have integrated generative AI into my classroom practices and my consultation practices too. And I'm ready to help as many teachers as possible who are ready to also use, this approach. But we cannot avoid technology. So let us not continue to harp on the negative effects. Thank you very much. That's one. Secondly, there was a question that was asked of me during at the end of my presentation. Of course, the one of the uh, attendees who asked a question that I wasn't able to answer properly. She made some contributions, and I appreciate that. I think I want to add just this one, which is actually my takeaway from Linda Rose's presentation. I put it here as connect research. I believe we can all hear me. Am I still audible?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Good. Thank you very much. I put it here as connect research, that across classrooms. I belong to the arts constituency of the secondary school. I'm a language teacher, so I teach humanities. But beyond teaching literature, beyond devising so many approaches, creativity in the among the literature students, how do we encourage the other students in science, in commercial, and all that to also love reading? This is what I think we should do, and I put it as connect research, borrowing from Linda Ross, and it's not really far away from what I've been doing. But connect research can help teachers give students, as I know many private schools do this a lot, when they are going on holiday, the student, whichever class you belong, you must write an appraisal, or what we call book review, of a particular book, connect it to your studies, and bring it back to school. I believe that if students are able to do this across 6 years, we won't have science students who are not aware of literature, who will not appreciate reading and writing even. Finally, I'd like to say that I have a program that supports school to also encourage reading and writing. It is called the Writing College. It is what we do to also bridge the gap between, not really liking reading and not writing much. We want to encourage as many children or students as possible to also write, especially out of the confines of essay writing that is graded. I've discovered over the years that students are usually afraid of writing because they are going to be graded and they are discouraged. I've never scored more than 10 over 50. I've never scored more than 20 over 50 and all that. But we have created a forum where students are able to write freely and they are not graded. We want to encourage them to be expressive and learn and enjoy reading and writing. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Pelumi. We really appreciate. We are really running against time, and we just have a few questions for open discussion because Mrs. Subara has helped us to understand the stand of English educators, what we are to do. Yeah, she made mention of some certain things which are essential, I consider essential, which has to do with soft skills. Teachers need to have soft skills in terms of getting to listen more to our students so that they can air their opinions about their needs and all that. And also to know how we can come in and encourage. For instance, I have students who, upon graduation from our GSS 3, she decided that school has come. So what was the point in continue with SS1? We're just meant to make money. And since then, she stopped. But when I saw her and I told her, hey, you just have to continue. And now we're on the verge of her resuming our SS1 at the beginning of this academic session, something that she has dropped for like 2 years already. So that soft skills part is needed from us as teachers. So I really don't know. Do we still have any reaction or question, Mr. Ogene Rumuse and Kennedy? And also, who else? Aruna Abibat Olatunde, we can see your comments in the chat box. I guess Ms. Aderonke Adeshola was trying to raise her hands earlier. Any reaction, please, before we start wrapping up for today? It has really been a long session, Yes, anyone, please? Or based on the question displayed on the slide on the screen, do we have anyone who wants to react to any of the questions? Okay, in the absence of any. Okay,
May I quickly?
Okay, in just 1 minute, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. This is from, there's a question you referred to from Mr. Kennedy Abel. I know the person, and I would like to give this as a kind of a reaction about integrating or helping schools to integrate the SDG goals into their curriculum or their scheme of work. He said that it seems to be abstract. And I think that what schools can do, and I know where my colleague works, what schools can do is to ensure that the teachers are first thoroughly familiar with the SDGs. And then, because a school of these days should bring in international best practices in education, into their curriculum or into their own scheme of work. So I think that this is what school administrators, school management should do. And by so doing, they can also transfer that to the students. And I think there's one of the organizers who are into that, fully into that. Such organizations or NGOs could also be contracted to help with schools. Thank you very much.
Okay, I see TESDA and Eko Pages coming in strongly in that aspect, and we really want to appreciate every one of us for our time, making it time out with us for today's webinar in celebration of International Literacy Day for year 2023. It has been a very long day, and honestly, yes, I've been able to learn a lot from Linda Ruas down to Mr. Pelumi's presentation. Also, Lights giving us the tech mindset and with the acronym. Okay, and the comment session has been mind-blowing as well, from questions from Miss Dunsi, Mrs. CJ Comfort, and others who have made significant contribution. So just for the closing, I don't know, Mrs. Subar, do you have anything to say before we welcome Mr. Ten for the closing remark?
I just want to appreciate our participants once again and the organizers for this year's program. It's to really be a very insightful and eye-opening webinar. At least we get to pick from others, we get to learn from others. I look forward to having another round of this type of webinar next year, God willing, to commemorate Literacy Day. Thank you
very much, ma. And last but not the least, Mr. Femi Shifoderen, you must open. Just 1 minute.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Pokwala. I really want to say this again. Many thanks to this wonderful webinar. It has really impacted, and I must give kudos to the facilitators. Please, I want to crave your indulgence. We have this again. I want us to have this again. And not only that, you promised to drop some links. You're still waiting, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh,
especially the ELTAN. Yes.
Okay. For ELTAN, what happened is that, please, once I guess you're a member of EL network already, so the particular zone and the state you belong to will get to forward the details, your details to them, and you'll be added, because we have different zones. And but once you send your details, it will be forwarded to the chairman of Lagos State ELTAN chapter. He's supposed to be here, but he sent his regards all the way from Anambra, where he's presently undergoing, what's it called? The ELTAN National Conference. So I hope your question is being answered, please.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Mr. Ten, please, a closing remark from you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm back again. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you, sir.
Okay. Let me just okay. So I'll make this very short. We spent close to 2 hours. So I want to thank everybody for making time to attend this program. From the speakers, we appreciate you. It was really very insightful sessions from all of you. The organizing team, Eko Pages, TESDA, ELTAN, and Olamide, what's your, and sorry, and everything literature, right?
You're
Thank you.
supposed to be sued.
Sorry, thank you. And for the attendees, we appreciate it. Thank you. This has been a remarkable experience. So we have just one planet, right? It's just one planet we have, and so we have to take care of it. What we have done today is to look at how literacy and literature, we can use literature to create so much awareness on sustainability for children, sustainability for children, and even adults. First of all, to educate them on sustainability and to make each and every one of us take action um, towards the betterment of our environment. So this is a laudable initiative. The coalition we have formed today is for everybody present here, right? The stakeholders. I implore everybody. I don't know. I want it to be a monthly program if that can work. It doesn't have to revolve around literacy, um, books. Sorry, the World Literacy Day, but we could speak to and about issues that concern sustainability and literature and how to merge them together to educate both children and adults, teachers and parents, right? So I don't know if this is something we'll all look into, create a community around this and make lasting impact. Like I said earlier, we have a yearly program which we do across communities, marginalized communities, schools, and communities where we educate children and teachers about the importance of SDGs and prompts them to take action, in their environment. So again, I want to implore all of us to form a community to this effect. Um, Once again, thank you very much, and hopefully we see you guys next month. Thank you very much for attending this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ten. Though I'm coming for you later for forgetting to acknowledge everything literature. Okay.
Apologies.
Okay, so we observed that some persons have been on board and we didn't even get to hear or see them at all. We want to appreciate you right from everyone present. I don't want to start mentioning names, but particular name that came to mind is Bio Baku or Donsaya, if you're there, and the teacher Nat. You can just get to say hello, and Maggie Monique. I'm just taking the names randomly, and but if you decide not to say anything, it's fine. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a worthwhile experience in celebration of 2023 World Literacy Day. We encourage every one of us to be agents of change wherever we are, and we should keep on connecting the dots. SDG, not basically about literature, things concerning literacy. English is involved and all that. So then peaceful living. We believe that God willing, God helping us, we have a peaceful world where we can live in. So there's a question in there. Yes, is ELTAN present in Oyo and Ondo states? For Ondo State, it's a work in progress, according to the last chat I had with some. I think it's present. Mrs. Subar, is there any other top ELTAN representative who can quickly help us answer that? Is ELTAN present in Oyo State and Ondo State?
I'm not really too certain about Ondo, but I guess there should be one in Oyo.
Okay.
But whatever it is, we'll get back through the email. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. A big shout out to everyone, please. Okay, Magimonic from Kenya. Okay. Thank you so much for connecting. And yes, we will carry us all along. A big shout out to all our speakers for today, right from Linda Ruas, She had another meeting. That was why she could not follow up to the end, all the way from UK. There also we have Mr. Pelumi Dunsi from Ibadan, and we have Chimi Light, who is a tech-savvy educator. She's based in Lagos. And we have Mrs. Kausara Tsubar, a deputy director, Lagos State Teaching Service Commission, and also she's actually the treasurer and for ELTAN Lagos State chapter, and, as well. Yes, let's just keep it short. So thank you so much for your time. A big shout out to everyone once again. Big shout out to all our speakers. We have Pere, representative from TESDA, Mr. Ten, representative from Eko Pages. Do well to visit the website. Just check ekopages.com. You get to see the good work Eko Pages into everythingliterature.net, not .com, .net, and you get to see. Then you can get to the recordings of this webinar will be live on YouTube via Everything Literature platform and all that social media. Via our email. Pardon me. It will be sent. The link will be sent across to us so that we can catch up with it and we watch. Thank you so much. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Hello, Mr.
Okay.
Lamide, before you leave.
Okay.
Somebody in the chat, that is there ELTAN in Ogun State? Yes, there is ELTAN in Ogun State, functional.
Oh, yes, Mr. Kennedy Abel, please, you can just quickly drop your contact. Yes, okay, good. Okay, the contact of ELTAN president has been dropped, so please do well to contact. And yes, Ms. Subar, do you still have any? Okay. Mr. Femi, do you have anything to say? Okay. Yes. Yes, I can see our hands raised. Aruna, please, do you have? Yes, Uche, there is ELTAN in Anambra State. In fact, ELTAN National Conference is going on in Anambra State, if I'm correct. So there's ELTAN in Anambra State. Yes, Mr. Femi Oshifodunrin, please quickly. A minute. Okay, if we don't have Mr. Femi.
Sorry, I don't have a question. That must be a mistake.
Okay. Then, Aruna, do you have a question? We can see your hand raised. Okay, so in the absence of any other questions, thank you so much once again from Eko Pages, Everything Literature, TESDA, and English Language Teachers Association of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter. Specifically, we want to thank everyone, our speakers, everyone present for this year World Literacy Day webinar. Do well to enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.